Hello and welcome to a video where I'm pretty sure a lot of people are excited for, because I know a lot of people really like Sapphire Steel, or maybe there's a correlation with people who watch my stuff that really like Sapphire Steel. But I kind of get together my week one, what I'd run and what I've been playing and testing version of Sapphire Steel in set 10. And it kind of looks very standard. It doesn't look like I've changed too much from what other people would see in their lists, but it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. It's kind of doing the way I describe it in set 10 is that it's doing what it was doing in set 9, but it actually feels like a deck now. Whereas before, we would try and ramp on 2, ramp on 3, and then play 6 and 7 drops because, we've double ramped twice. Now it feels like that's an actual deck because of Cinderella and also Goliath as well, because what it feels like is you have a card that is very effectively good at ramping. On 3, it has basically how far you go effect. In a similar way, it's a 4-cost thing that gets you cycle through cards and it gives you ramp. And then you have a top end that will draw you some cards as well, Goliath, and it also disrupts your opponent if they wish to hold cards in their hand. So it feels like you actually have this game plan, and it feels like there are actually cards aiming to do it, rather than in set 9 it was ramp on 2 and you will hopefully find a Pleakley, and if you didn't find a Pleakley it was kind of I don't know, I hope to sort of maybe find another Sail or find a Keeda, and just maybe tempo play with the Keeda instead. But you've got Pleakley and Cinderella who will ink for you on that turn as well, which just means that you get 6 ink the next turn afterwards. So I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. I think the verdict's still out on what is actually competitively viable. I think a lot of people are putting their eggs in the basket of green blue being the top dog, top most performing deck in the format, and to be honest with you, it has a very strong game plan. The Prince Philip combo is pretty much achievable. It's as achievable as a Sisu ice block combo ever was. It's just 2 cards really, and actually to be honest with you, the Sisu one was sometimes a bit harder to pull off with the ice blocks and the Sisu and the coils, but this one is just spread this 1 damage around, put the Prince Philip on the board, and then you turn the corner with a 3-quester big character that's kind of hard to touch. But that doesn't mean that Sapphire Steel is not is not viable. I think Sapphire Steel is probably one of the strongest choices. I think it's going to retain that position that it always had, I think, in previous sets before the set 7 ban that happened for basically ruined Sapphire Steel for a while. I think it's going to retain that fringe pick, top meta fringe pick, tier 2, tier 1.5, but we're going to have these amazing pilots like Justin Morales and Jonathan Lamb and Bad Vegas and stuff like that, who just manage to pilot it so well that they can go all the way and get their golden Mickeys and wins like that. I think it will be back into that category of deck where because it's consistent, it does have some consistency issues, which I'll go over as well. And I'll go over the game plan of the deck and I'll go in more detail. I think it will keep it out of the top picks for a lot of the players, but I think it's still very good. It's very powerful. When it does its thing, it's very hard to beat. And if you watched over the weekend, there was a lot of set 9 lists as well that were running basically similar to this with minus the set 10 cards, and it was very powerful when it did its thing. It was overwhelming, watching it double dock into Beyond the Horizon, playing big 7s and 5 characters across the board. When it does its thing, it's really amazing, but sometimes you mulligan in your hand is no turn 2, a bunch of 4 drops, and you just lose tempo and kind of lose the game. And then that has also been one of the issues that Sapphire Steel has always had, back to the day 1 of Sapphire Steel. In my opinion, this had this issue where, because it's not a red deck and it's not this new Prince Philip combo deck, if it's behind, it doesn't have the ability to say, and I'm going to reset the board. You used to be able to ramp up with Ruby Sapphire, be prepared, Sisu, you can Prince Philip now, green blue. Sapphire Steel always had the issue where if it go behind, when it gets to right, and now I'm back in the game, I've ramped up, I've done all my things, it's here's a Tinkerbell. Oh wait, you've got 5 characters, and then you strength my Tinkerbell and I lose the game. It still has all of those issues. It feels very much at home, the way it's always felt. So I think it's very powerful, very strong. When it does its thing, it's great. We're gonna have some amazing pilots who know how to handle those really bad games. And we're gonna have some people who have really hot runs at DLCs and CCQs and whatever events we are. So it's back. It's very strong. It's very good. I think this is not like the classic Sapphire Steel saying it's back, everyone come and play. It's really good. It generally is quite a strong and powerful deck this time around. So I can work you through the game plan of it if you're new to it. If you're not, whatever, I'll just talk through the deck, because that's what we do on this channel here. We talk through decks and we put screens on the list. So yeah, definitely back, definitely powerful. kind of feels like it's back to where it was, you know, that, let's say, that strong tier 1.5 pilot, a tier 1 level deck, if it's, you know, not got a brick on the day and you're very good at the deck, which I'm not saying I am, I'm just saying that's kind of where it's at. So if we go through the list, there's the option to play the Jasmine package that we saw over the DLC in Milwaukee, which is awesome. I was going to get the lads on that did that. There's about 10 lads that brought the same list. One of them got top 32 and multiple ones got top 64 and day 2s. Really awesome. They're all running the Jasmine package. And I think that's going to be fine. But the Jasmine package means the 1-drop and the 4-drop shift. And whenever you quest, you get to look at the top 3 and take any ally cards. I think that's absolutely fine. I think that still fits in here as well. I think the deductions you would make here is take away Captain Hook and Keita, because I think your other option, if you don't do the Jasmine shift line, is you want to put Captain Hook and Keita in. And I've always, I don't know, when I've played both the versions, like I play a lot of Lorcana. I play an astounding amount of Lorcana, and I've always gravitated more towards this version without the Jasmine. I think just in my head when I'm mulliganing for the, you know, for the game, it's just, right, I need 2 versions of ramp in here, and if it's maybe a low to the ground aggro match, maybe I keep this Hook or whatever, or maybe I'd look for a Tinkerbell instead of a whatever else card I need, or maybe Bleakly is going to be good. I just feel I can understand the mulligan a bit more rather than ever trying to rely on Jasmine doing anything for me. And I think Keita is generally in a deck like this where you're doing things like Beyond the Horizon, Sail, even I've run versions with Mulan. We don't have Mulan in here, but we do have, like, you could even do a Keita effect, play a Namari, you know, you got this draw discard stuff going on, or just, you know, drawing one card. I find that's pretty good. Like, I really like that. I like the Captain Hook into the Keita, and if it's against a steel matchup, maybe her having ward is just enough. You know, get her down and then she can sing hers is Thunderbolt and take out their 4/4 character or their genie or whatever it needs to be. So I quite like playing Captain Hook and Keita as a little package there, but I think it's very interchangeable into Jasmine. Like, you can just use the Jasmine shift stuff if you want, and that's still, like, on 2 you can sing what's it called, He Held His Thunderbolt or quest and get the card draw and then completely put it into the inkwell. There's some loads of interesting stuff you can do with that, but this is the approach that I sort of went with, and I quite like it. So yeah, it's called the 2-4-6 because the aim of the game is to ramp on 2, bringing us to 4 ink, and then ramp on turn 3, bringing us to 6 ink, and then kind of unlocking the deck from there on out, because we're only be 1 ink away from playing all these 7 drops, and we kind of want to be playing some of these 6 drops on those turn. So we'll go for each card and, like, reason why it's in there. I think Hook is just generally, like, in Swiss and stuff, and not just in Swiss, just in general, you might come against a very aggressive deck where you just need a thing on the board that you put down, and it can take things out and kill them. Or banish them, sorry. And it's just basically saying, I needed a 1-drop in the deck, I'm going to put it in here. And of course, you also need 1-drops, you need cheaper stuff if you're playing Bleakly. I think there's generally a world where I could just put, I'd probably put maybe some Mulans or some more other sort of 1-drops in there just to kind of even it out and make sure Bleakly is always going to get value if I'm going to use the card. And then going into Sail and Tipo, yeah, it's just Sail and Tipo, just making sure I can get that ramp on turn 2. Bleakly and Cinderella, making sure I can get effectively good ramp on turn 3. And that's why we play those cards as the ramp package there. I think Cinderella is arguably such a better ramp card. And you'll be surprised as well when you play her down. At the end of that turn, she's done her thing. You know, you've ramped on turn 3 and you'll get to achieve that 6 ink the next turn, which, you know, you're seeing all these other Sapphire decks. Some are doing it with Spooky Sight, like Ruby Sapphire and Emerald Sapphire. Like, they're doing this ramp into Spooky Sight. You can put Spooky Sight in here. I don't know why you would, but you are welcome to put it in here. We do it into, like, Tinkerbell and Goliath, and it's just very powerful. Once she's done her thing, she's you know, once the end of that turn, she will have drawn you a card, you will have ramped, and you get this 2/3 body on the board. Most opponents will actually just leave it. Some might put some damage into it. I find if you're an aggressive deck, you don't really want to put any removal into it because you don't care about it that much. It's a 2/3 body. But so other, like in mirrors and stuff, I think it's never bad to remove the card. But sometimes people will just leave it because they're like, well, you say you've done the thing you want to do with it, and it's weird. You'll just get things like Keita is, I believe Keita is a princess as well. But like, I'll even notice when I do it, I'll play a Jasmine or an Amari in the next turn. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, these are princesses. So now on top of the fact that I played these two, I can actually use the Cinderella effect as well to ink again. And I was even noticing that with little Mulans when I was playing with Mulans in the deck. Like, it's just really strange how many little princesses are also in this list. And they just combo off it, and you get to use the effect again if you want to. So just all around just a really awesome and interesting, intriguing card in there. I think, and then we'll go, like I said, that's just the ramp package in general, 246. Like, I don't want to say that about a billion more times, but that is the kind of core of the deck and what you're aiming to do here. Lexington kind of feels like this staple steel card right now, and you know, we could swap that out for like the Robin Hood, the 6-drop, because we get to draw a card from playing that on, the Sapphire 6-drop. But, you know, it's so cheap, it's so effective, it just locks down genies and Dumbos, and probably going to get to a point where evasion cheesing is maybe not as important anymore, and that card can be like cycled out of the deck. But right now, it's just so cheap and effective, and to be honest with you, with how little cards you do end up with in hand using Goliath and Beyond the Horizon, it's fine to just have him, and the Stone by Day thing never feels overwhelming. So just all round, just a fairly fine card. And maybe, you know, you're ramp on 2 and you don't have anything to play on turn 4, but they're going to like evasion cheese you and race the game, play one of them down or something. You know, it just all round felt like a fine card to put in the deck. It never feels amazing on the curve. 3-drops don't, you know, unless it's Pleakley where you're getting that ramp value, it doesn't feel amazing, but it's felt fine in the list. So I've been going with Lexington, but then again, he's appearing in pretty much every steel list I'm running right now. So take my love for that card in, and might need to watch the show and see what Lexington actually is like in the show. But yeah, and then over to that, you've got the Princess package in there. I think cards like, I'm just going to bundle them together, like cards like Kida, Namari. I'm going to bundle those two together because, as I say, the deck is more of, you're hoping to draw a big bomb every turn, a big impactful card. Namari gives you the ability to do that better, and Kida does as well, because you get to look at the top 2 or, you know, draw 1, discard 1. So, you know, you need cards like Tipo, Sail, Strength just to be a deck, and Captain Hook just to be a deck and function. But later on in the game, you just want to be drawing Vincenzo's, Hades, Tinkerbells, whatever, anything huge. So those Kida and Namari giving you cards that say like, well, we can give better odds on the next card we draw being good, is why they're included in there. Anything on top of that, you know, Namari's Strength is pretty good. Kida's Ward can sometimes be useful, but you know, those cards giving you the ability to cycle and make the deck, top decks basically, a bit better, is pretty awesome. The 5-cost Jasmine, I think, is, I've always liked that card. I mean, 3/7, it basically, like any steel matchup, just locks them out. Like, you ramp and put that down against purple steel, and they're quite afraid to turn things sideways. And you've got cards like Tinkerbell that pair up well. So, you know, you can take out a purple genie with it. If they end up questing, you know, you do 1 damage across, then you just run them. You don't even have to discard a card for Jasmine's effect. Called Now's My Chance. You need to discard a card plus 3 challenger. You don't even need to do that, because you can just steal maths up with Tinkerbell, even Vincenzo if you get lucky enough. So I just really like that card. I don't really know why I'm playing it as a 2x, but it just feels like there's so much to try, and there's so much new in this new, so much like I want in this new set. So it's been fun to play a lot of, I've been playing a lot of Amber Steel, but playing a lot of Sapphire Steel has been fun as well, because there's just so much more here to it. It's like really pushing the deck to its limits, which is pretty cool. And then, yeah, I'm just going to cover the rest of the package, because I'm just waffling on with excitement, I think. Tinkerbell, Hades, Vincenzo, we all know why. They're big, top-end, expensive cards that we can put down, and they impact the board because they give us removal at the same rate. Awesome cards. He held his Thunderbolt, just great, you know, just 4 damage across to anything like a genie. And I think, to be honest with you, Strength of the Raging Fire has always felt, in my opinion, quite lackluster in these new Sapphire Steel lists, and it's mainly due to, you don't really get that many bodies wide. Like, the best you ever strength for is like 3, I find. But he held his Thunderbolt is 4. We don't mind singing 4 because we have such expensive cards anyway. 4 damage is great. Takes out Amethyst Genie, like Dumbo, a lot of 3-drops, a lot of 2-drops. Great. Really like it in the list. It's uninkable. That's about it. But besides that, very useful. Sometimes you'll buff Hades and it'll manage to hit something for 5, because it does get that weird little challenger buff. But altogether, yeah, just he held a Thunderbolt is just more steel removal. I mean, you can't really argue with that. It's pretty fair for the price it is. The card's not blown me away. I think, you know, if you look at most of this deck, though, it kind of can clear it up. Things like Namari, it won't, but, you know, anything 4 or below is sort of removing that off the board straight away. So it's all around just a fairly decent card, yeah. Awesome, can't really complain about that one. But Goliath is the last card I just want to talk about before I wrap up talking around this list. Like I say, when you want to play it, it's very simple. Double ramp, play big characters, and play it until your opponent concedes the game. And you can test out different big characters in there as well. Like, you could test out the new Prince Charming if you wanted to. That looks pretty fun. It's a 7-cost 3/10. But I think the card that kind of makes or breaks your ability to play Sapphire Steel this set, or kind of, I think the depth to the deck is really based around this card called Goliath. And I find it so interesting to play. Every game feels so different. Every matchup feels so interesting with this card. So what it does is, on play, It doesn't really do much actually on play. But at the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more cards, you have to discard down to 2. And if you have less than 2, you draw up to 2. So if you have 1 card in hand, you'll draw to 2. If you have 3, you'll discard down to 2. If you have none, you draw 2. So that's that simple. It just feels so interesting to me to play this card. There's big control decks where you just want to like make them discard their entire hand, and that's very doable. You know, you ramp up to this early on and you play it. Amethyst Steel, you usually discard them, like take a few cards at their hand if they're not being greedy, if they're playing like greedy and holding it. Same with Blurple as well. You can take huge hand size out of them. Loads of decks like that, and you can always like predict. You can do some amazing plays, like kind of against a Blurple deck, kind of try and predict how many cards could they get out of the hand, because this effect happens at the end of the turn. So when you pass it to them, they do have the turn to try and dump their hand. If you can go right with your ink and like what I think you have in hand, I don't think you can play 3 cards out, so you're gonna have to discard 3, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be big characters. And you know, you can do awesome plays like that. And for yourself as well, whenever I'm about to play Goliath and I'm noticing that both of us are going to get value out of the card, I kind of ask myself that question of who has the better card quality. I think here, like, if we're both drawing 2 cards a turn, and we're probably going to play those 2 cards a turn, maybe ink 1, play 1, like at the minimum, who is going to end up winning just on card quality value? And I find with Sapphire Steel, you end up winning because you're going to draw Hades, Vincenzo's, Tinkerbells, more steel removal, maybe be on the horizon to get a bunch of cards, then dump a bunch of cards. Like, you just end up drawing loads of bombs. So I find like every matchup, the ones that you kind of struggle with, maybe like Amber Steel aggro, because they're going to get 2 things that quest a lot. They're basically getting a free dock a turn, and you usually lose that matchup when they get a dock. So that's kind of the rough point with that doing into Amber Steel. But anything that's a bit slow, like Amber Steel, or maybe some of the other Sapphire decks, you're like, I think my card quality is better. And you can, there's some awesome things like against like Green Blue, where we know they're going to be doing their Prince Philip combo. If we can play a Goliath down, make them discard, and get them into this 2 cards a turn position if they don't remove the Goliath, you're saying something like you finding your Prince Philip combo, and your deck's a combo deck, so it needs multiple cards in hand. It's kind of fairly low. The 2 cards you get are going to be Mean Malicious and Prince Philip, and you can effectively use both of them. So I'm just going to say my card quality is better, and I don't mind about your 7-cost Basils, and maybe you draw a Hades. Like, I'm just going to be playing bombs every turn. So it's just such a really interesting card. I find it so fun, the Goliath. I've definitely lost games by playing it incorrectly, like learning it so much. You might have turns where you think, right, I just generally have to play this card because I need the 2 card draw. You play it, and then they're like, great, now I'm in a Goliath loop where I'm just going to slam 2 characters a turn and go wide against you. So it's just so interesting. It's so fun having basically a dock a turn on this card. I find it far more interesting to play than Demona. Demona just seems broken, in my opinion. Very powerful card. But yeah. Goliath's been very interesting. And also as well, Beyond the Horizon discard, I just, in my head, I keep reminding myself, remember to say that Beyond the Horizon discard is pretty good if you're against a green deck that's trying to do a Prince Philip combo. Just remember that you can't discard their hand with them, which is pretty useful there. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because I've been repeating in my head for a few minutes now. But yeah, the deck feels fine. It feels very alive. I think we're in that fringy spot where like it's not going to be the top winning deck, but it's going to be so represented at DLCs, and it's very good because I know the Sapphire Steel community has such a big like heart, and they just love this color combo. So to see it kind of back into a place where it's playable, I remember spending so much time online in different discords and environments, like debating which cards are going to be appropriate in Sapphire Steel, and I love all that. There's so many characters and stuff in it, and it's great that the deck is pretty viable right now, and it's very playable, and you can just lean back and keep enjoying your Sapphire Steel dream again, because yeah, it's very functional. Probably maybe not the most powerful Sapphire deck, maybe not the most powerful deck in the format, but it's definitely a contender. There is no reason why it feels like there's no reason why this couldn't win an event compared to last set where it was maybe unlikely it could win an event. But yeah, it just feels very strong and very good, and I hope everyone enjoys it as much as I am as well.